So this is a scrimmage, yeah, or like a tournament game?
Yep.
Okay. And how often do you guys scrimmage together, play with your teammates?
It's at least one scrim and then one like match, but we try to do 2 scrims in a game if we can.
Okay. What is your communication generally like? Are you like a shot caller IGL? Are you just more quiet? Does somebody else shot call? Like, how does that work?
I shot call rotations. If we're running this comp, our Sombra usually is the one scouting.
Okay.
Our Moira is usually the one telling us when we need to come back because of field resource, but for the most part, I do a lot of calmings, like pathing target.
Okay. So that's going to be very important, and I think that's good that main tank is taking responsibility for that, because that means that you can fix more things. But that also means that if I see something terribly wrong, I'm going to blame you, or at least we're going to talk about it. We're going to figure out like why is this happening here? Because you are the one pulling the leash, essentially. Like you're the one that like lets the dog go whenever you want to go. So that means your teammates need to be ready. It needs to be a good engage, all that kind of crap. Do you have any other questions or anything else you want to get out in the air before we start?
Not right now. Maybe later.
Okay, let's look at this then. So before we like actually get rolling, it's now my turn to ask you a question. Questions. Why monkey? What is the purpose of monkey in this composition? What are you trying to do?
It's very mobile. Like that's kind of the whole point of this comp is that while it's not actually a brawl comp, it has brawl capabilities, but it can also dive onto targets mid-fight if I need to.
Why not Balden?
Honestly, more comfortable with the monkey, really.
Okay. Why do you think monkey is played even by teams that might have a more comfortable ball player?
I think it's just a little more staying power with the shield.
I would agree with that. Okay. So what's your job going to be in this composition, in this matchup, let's say? Like, what do you need to do? How do you beat this composition?
We just have to rotate on top of them. Stacking, like, or not stacking, sorry, alternating, like, Winston Bubble and DM and Lucio Amp for rotations. Okay,
sounds good. So I think you have a pretty good understanding of, like, what you need to be doing for this to be successful. So then the question is just, why is this not working as well as it is? And so we'll try and answer that question. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So, gonna rotate. Nice. By the way, in this long of a rotation, you can absolutely use bubble here. Why? Why would you think that would be okay?
Because by the time we're ready to engage again, I should have it back.
Exactly. There's zero chance that you're going to need or want bubble anytime before you actually engage, unless this Ashe is like legitimately feeding. But that's probably not much of a something you're really concerned about. I would be almost concerned about like unlucky halt, your Lucio gets headshot, that kind of thing. So like just use your bubble to rotate here. Okay, this is much easier to rotate with safely. Okay. Okay.
This will improve your condition.
So I'm a little concerned because this is you're wasting a lot of time right now, a lot of time. Like what are we waiting for at this point? So like you are healed up, you should be rotating now, right now. Do you remember what the communication was like at this point in the replay?
There's a lot of back and forth on how we should, if we want to go right side or if we want to go left and force the Ashe off.
Okay. So what do you think?
We ended up going left and forced the Ashe off, and we won the fight off of it. But I think
we got
kind of lucky because she messed up her coach gun.
Okay, I would agree. I think going left is really, really, really stupid. Unless that Ashe, unless you have like a set hack on that Ashe or Diva and some sort of cut, I think it's really stupid. Because what's going to happen is you're going to 3, 2, 1, you're going to jump, and she's just going to run away, and then what happens then? So tell me what should have happened here. Like, what would have been better?
Should have just made our normal right side rotation around the catwalk.
Okay. And why is speed important here?
Because it's a very long rotation, and when we scrim it, we practice, like we DM out the door and we hold amp until we're on like the back side of catwalk, and then we amp as we're rounding the corner.
Okay. Let me clarify. Why is setting up this rotation quickly also important and not wasting time?
So they don't have time to rotate out of it?
Exactly. And ultimately, you guys are on the timer here. Like, you guys are on attack. Because if we look at this, like with the debate, I don't want to like overanalyze this too much. But like by the time you guys actually rotate, when you could have actually rotated, I mean, that was 12 seconds where literally nothing happens. So I want you to like be fine with having these sort of discussions, but ultimately you do want to try and push the pace a little bit. And that's where you can come into play, because ultimately you are the guy making these calls, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, What's the issue here with your composition? Now, I'm not blaming you for this, but if you're the one shot calling and you're the one that's taking the initiative for your team to improve, what's a major, major issue with what's happening right now?
The Lucio up front.
Okay, what else? More important than that. Let me simplify this for you.
I don't know, I guess.
What do you not see right now? Where's my red?
All behind?
All behind. Where's my cut? Where's my angle? Where's my pincer? Right? All this Ashe doesn't even need to coach gun. She could even just drop, run away, and she would be fine. She could even mess up her coach gun to the opposite high ground. What is your Sombra doing?
We've actually tried to get our Sombra to play more out of us because they've had a problem before of getting scouted ahead of time.
Okay.
So we're trying to like start default from the core. And
so
then spread out.
To be honest with you, that seems like a band-aid for a really sloppy band-aid for a solution that should be found elsewhere. So I know I'm not coaching Sombra right now, but name 3 places that your Sombra could set up without being spy checked. That would be better than where she is now. Give me 3.
She'd be like inside of the room on point, maybe.
Okay. Where else?
And then touch like straight across from where you're looking now by the mini stairs.
Okay. Where else?
And then I guess she just played directly under their high ground.
Okay. Yeah.
Like toward backup point, maybe too.
Yep. All of them. All of them would be better than where she is right now. Okay. Just a thought, a discussion point that needs to happen because this dive, she should be sitting AFK, holding mouse 1 in just to come out of stealth right here. There's no way she gets spy checked like this. No way. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Are you doing the correct thing right now?
I thought I was until you asked me like that.
So when I ask you questions like this, I'm going to come across as antagonizing just a little bit, but that's mostly just because I want you to defend your position. Or I want you to think about your position, more importantly. The point should be that not that you have to feel like this is a debate or a discussion or you have to be on the defense. I just want you to be in the habit of when you're reviewing these things on your own, you second guess everything. But when you get into a scrimmage, you second guess nothing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can go back and think about it afterwards, but right now there's no second guessing when you're actually acting. But when you review it, even some of the more simple actions, think about it. Take the time to think about it. Is this the best engage that you could possibly have done from what you're doing here, right? From coming from this angle. Do you think this is the proper move?
I think so. I was trying to get above her, so if she did coach gun, I could still get enough damage on her.
Yeah, that seems perfectly reasonable. So I agree. So it's not an attack. I'm just making you think about it. And that's going to happen a lot during this review, by the way. Great discipline with the bubble. Really, really min-maxing the value you get out of that. And honestly, you might not have even needed it, but like once you started to lose some of your armor, you plopped it down, and I'm always a fan of that. Keep yourself in your armor threshold. Even if you're like, oh man, I didn't end up needing it, like that's just, most of the time you're going to need it at the point that you used it there. So that was really smart. Now, Mr. Shot Caller, Mr. Alpha main tank guy still playing monkey. What do you do?
We just play under point. They don't really have a lot of brawl potential, and if they try to poke us out, they have to expose themselves really bad.
Okay, so what should the call be here? I want a very detailed call, but that is said in like 6 words tops, if that makes any sense.
Play under high ground, don't peek.
Don't peek, exactly. Don't peek, chill. Don't peek, chill, exactly. Hide, right? Exactly. That's a great way of saying it. Because even if you do, like for example, like what your Diva's doing, atrocious, like your Lucio, atrocious, Sombra, atrocious. What might happen if they stay here?
They could very easily get one shot by Hanzo.
Or
pulled and comboed.
Right, pulled, comboed. They could get Translocator forced. You could get your Amp forced. You could have your Lucio demand a lot of healing spray. All sorts of things. Force your Matrix. All sorts of stuff. Okay. Now, thankfully, they walk into you. So that's nice. So this is where it gets a little tricky because you're like, do I jump the high ground? Do I jump the low ground? To be honest with you, I think it would have been better for you to go high ground here and let whoever's on point clean up. Why do you think that is?
I I just deny the bad feeling.
Exactly. If just keep them busy, right? Split their attention. Think about what my hero is best at, what their heroes are best at. Obviously, it doesn't make much sense for your Reaper to set up the time to TP to high ground when you can just shoot the Orisa and D.Va on point. I think that's a lot of value. Your Moira obviously can't get up there. The Lucio D.Va's gonna be harder. So like, but you can be split here. You can go, I'm gonna jump this BAP. I'm gonna keep this BAP busy. I might even just sit up here and zap the Brig. So I think you being split of your team's target, as long as it's at the same time as your team is doing something, is okay. That being said, this isn't really bad. This is fine. This bubble will be useful for your team. I appreciate the short jump there. That's good. Getting a little bit of landing damage in there. So this is all fine. So like, all of my nitpicks with you so far have been almost exclusively of what your team is doing and not what you're doing. Now, what are your goals with Overwatch? Like, what's if we were to say 6 months from now, 1 year from now, what's the purpose? Is this for fun? Is this to get better? Is this to rank up? Is this for contenders, open division? Like, what's the deal?
It's really just like filling a void, because in like high school I was on 2 sports teams, so I've just been super competitive all the time. And after I graduated, I didn't have a team, so I started playing like competitive Overwatch and scrimming.
So you're like me, you just like being competitive about things just for the sake of being competitive. Doesn't really matter what it is.
It's fun to get better at something.
Sure, that's a great goal. So I think that one of the most admirable goals that you can actually set for yourself in Overwatch is to learn how to be a better teammate and to learn how to be a better leader within a team like this. Not only because it's good and your team will benefit them a lot from it, but also because it has incredible application outside of Overwatch. So maybe you're not the gamer type, okay? I can relate with that. And you're like, man, I don't even know if I'm gonna be doing this. I might just get back and doing sports or whatever, or do something else. Fine. So walk away from this with something permanent. So this is why I'm gonna hang you up on things like having your Sombra cut, things about being decisive on your rotations, things about how you should be second guessing or thinking about all your decisions during these reviews, because those are helpful tools. So, and once we finish this attack, I want to sit and talk with you, not sit, but like continue to talk with you more about those things, because I really think you'll get a lot out of it. Rather than me telling you all the details of how to min-max your Winston engages, how do you be a better teammate? How do you lead your team to do better things, along with any big stuff that we see from you along the way? Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. So, staying on that topic, sort of, what's the game plan?
If they were holding like point or close, we wanted to take top right and then go high ground from there.
So you're saying literally just go boing and then...
Yep, and if they were playing like far back left high ground, we rotate on the left side.
Okay, and then what would you do here?
Just walk on their back line from there.
From here? Just here? Okay. I mean, this is really good. I want you to understand, like, this is really good. Like, now, Kai, I have a question for you. How do you know these things?
A lot of scrims and a lot of VOD reviews.
Okay.
From
this is good.
Org coaches and from content coaches.
I respect it. Okay, so it seems like you have a pretty good understanding of like how to play this engagement. You need to get on top of them while taking as little damage as possible. So that's just really good. So you look at the situation here now, and you're gonna tell me what you should be calling right now. Like, you know what? We're not gonna even cheat. We're gonna go from your POV. You have heard Hanzo. Okay, what's the game plan?
Go top left now, since I've seen him high ground.
Okay. Okay. A little clunky here. I'm gonna look at this again. I'm suspicious of your calls now.
This will heal you.
That looks okay. Looks okay. They were a little slow, so I was wondering if you were a little indecisive with your call, but it looks okay. Okay. Keep watching. Now, Coach Neldon. Is that Coach Ty? What do you prefer, by the way?
It doesn't matter. Ty's my first name.
All right, Ty. All right, Coach Ty. What the flip is wrong? Or concerning?
Our Sombra's not really where she can engage with us yet.
Right. So I'm scared. You're about to press shift. And you're about to get in the Orisa's teeth. And to be fair, like anything else other than the Orisa right now is a little awkward to dive. That's a good starting point. But I really, really want your Sombra. Like, where could your Sombra be?
On the stairs right under you?
Right. She could be here. Now, she has to watch out for whip shot, because if she gets whip shotted, she has to translocate because she's going to go off the map. But she can definitely be like here. Like just like literally just even just here. Like you're going to jump 3, 2, 1. Okay, now I'm going to go out and hack that diva, right? So annoying for them. So annoying. So let's see what happens. You're going to go with Cole as well.
Yep.
Okay, this is good. Yeah, this is tragic. Absolutely tragic. Because your Sombra's going to do air. Your Sombra might pressure point, but that's not very good. Why is that not very good? What's the problem with her?
Sombra can get a lot more value than just...
I agree. But what else is the problem with that? Look at her positioning right now.
Very exposed.
What could that soldier and or Hanzo do?
Shoot at her and force her trans.
Exactly. Either one-shot her or she's out of the fight in 1 second. Now, maybe there's enough distraction here so that doesn't happen. But again, I just want you to imagine Sombra here or Sombra here, right? And just literally just on an angle and just going to be like, who do you focus? The monkey? Do you focus the Sombra? This is too easy for them. That Hanzo soldier can't do much anything right now but clear out Sombra. So, okay. That being said, let's look at strictly your play. You're doing the correct rotation. You're jumping through. You managed to get pretty close in. The bubble is probably a little early.
Yeah, I get stunned, so I was just kind of panic bubble.
Right, and I get that, right? I don't think you were aware of their DPS's positioning, so like you get stunned, but their Hanzo and Soldier are like across the map. They don't even see you, so it's a little bit unfortunate. But again, I don't want to nitpick this, right? Like we got bigger fish to fry. So this is all fine. I probably would have kept pressing W here, even without the bubble, just because of Cole, but whatever. Okay, now. This is the real fun part, okay? So you tell me what you think you could do here. What are your options?
I think I stay on the Hanzo point, but I have to make sure my team knows that so they can come with me.
Okay.
Or I could go contest Soldier high ground.
Okay. Brilliant. Appreciate the discipline with Primal. Okay, you get up. Okay, so I'm gonna do something. Okay, I'm gonna do something that to be honest with you, I have never ever done in a one-on-one review. And we're gonna look at your Samus POV.
See you later.
You see it? Exactly what you predicted. Exactly what you predicted. So. This is why I wanted to clarify what you wanted out of this review. Because if you had said to me, oh, I want to be the greatest Winston in the world, I really want to climb the GM, maybe I don't dwell on these things so much, because then it becomes a question of like, it's all about you and not about your teammates. But you are scrimming with these guys. You are looking to be a better leader, to be a better team, to be a better teammate, to be a better shot caller, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So this needs to be a conversation you'd have with your Sombra. Don't share the stream. Don't say, go look at what Spilo said about that. Screw that. That's a cheap, easy way of doing things. You need to sit down with your Sombra or go over it in a team review. And how often do you guys play this composition, by the way?
We play this and Brawl pretty heavily.
Okay.
We'll mix in like a ball comp every once in a while.
So this is definitely a major problem then. And you need to you need to have this discussion. And my question for you is, how would you have this discussion? I want you to go back. I'm going to go all the way back to the starting point. And I want you to tell me, how would you talk with your Sombra? Let's say I'm now the Sombra, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to talk to me. So first off, is there any, actually, I'm not going to ask you what your Sombra is like as a person. I think that's too personal. So why don't you just pretend that I'm the Sombra? How would you have this conversation?
Well, usually we have our Sombra come with us to hack Mega, but I think, especially when they're playing like that, I think we don't need that. We don't need that Mega because we're going to be rotating over anyway. So I think it should be like set up bottom left maybe so that they can meet us with the engage.
Okay. So you just need a dive. Okay. But I'm going to take you a step backwards because you're already talking about like the details of like what you should be doing. Okay. Mm-hmm. How do you bring up this problem to your Sombra player? Or any like problem to any teammate?
Positioning problem?
Yeah. The entire fact that you dove here with your Sombra sitting in your backline.
I think you just kind of have to be honest with them and tell them that they're out of position. I think part of that's on me because I told them, like, I say part, it is on me. I told them.
Do you have that relationship with that player to where you can do that?
Pretty well, yeah.
Okay. Why is that? Is that something you've been working with him? Are you a higher rank, or like what's the deal?
No, we're pretty even. It's just we hang out a lot because we're on the same team. So we're always just, I mean, at least 2 times a week we're playing 2 hours Overwatch with each other.
So you can have this conversation and just be like completely upfront and blunt, and nobody's gonna get the feelings hurt.
There might be feelings hurt for a little bit, but I think we'll get over it.
So how would you deliver this then with somebody then? Give me an example.
Oh, I just, like in this specific example, I just approached him and say, hey, like I think you don't need to come with us here, because sometimes I think he does need to play out of this, but this specific rotation that we're planning, he can get a lot more value by setting up on or I should say you, if I'm talking to him, you can get a lot more value setting up on an off angle so that you're already there ready to engage as we're moving in.
Okay. Can you see any problems that he might bring up with that?
Getting scouted.
Okay, so what would be the solution to that?
Play a little more out of the fight, I think, until we start our rotation so that we're pulling attention.
A little tip as well, when you say this kind of stuff, you can always phrase it as a question as well. That does mean that sometimes you're not able to get your point across as direct as you want, but you can be like, could you like play to hide more before we engage? Would that be okay? Would that solve that problem? You kind of see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're going to go to the next team fight here. Now, I'm sorry, chat. This is not the most like super exciting stuff, but this is really, really important. This is I think will have good positive impact, not necessarily in terms of you winning games or even doing, but just like as a team. I think this is good to know. So, how would you phrase this one? How would you bring this one up?
I guess would ask like how they got split, because we were all together first. So when I found out how they got split, I guess kind of ask like why they didn't bring that up, because if they tell me they get split, then we can pump the brakes for just a second.
Okay.
And let them get set up. I didn't know that they went point.
Okay. So this is so what's the problem with what they're doing here?
They're just exposing themselves and taking them out of the fight.
Okay. And what could they be doing instead?
Could be poking from an off angle. Could be getting like a hack on the D.Va, so our Reaper can do a lot more damage.
Yep. I agree with all that. I think your Sombra player needs to understand that you could like going for hacks and going for pincer pressure on dives doesn't mean you're exposing yourself to getting killed. It seems like this one, they're like, oh, I don't want to go backline. I might get like forced out or cleared. And the other one, they're talking about how like, oh, I'm always getting spy checked. Well, then, yeah, why are you standing here? If you're standing here, then yes, I would be scared as a Sombra. But you can stand here, right? Or you can stand here. I mean, all the examples that you gave, heck, even standing here would probably be a little better than where they are. So this is a conversation that you'll need to have. You'll have respectfully. I'm glad you already have that rapport, I guess, with the player. So that makes it a lot easier to have these conversations. But you know, and this doesn't, the thing is like, this doesn't have to be, and this really shouldn't be like coach to player, right? This should be friend to friend. The most successful teams in Overwatch League contingents, etc., have these sort of relationships with each other where they can be honest and like talk to each other about stuff, like ask questions. So I do think it would be helpful for you to have this conversation. And I think it's also going to be very impactful for you to have, I think it's good practice, essentially, if that makes sense. But yeah, this fight's nice. Okay. Do you have any questions so far?
Excuse me.
Not really.
Okay. I know this is a little bit unusual, but I think it'll be good nonetheless. Okay, shot caller. How do you win next fight?
Get into position.
Because now you got a real dilemma. Because before it was, oh, we can just go in with cold GGs, right? Now it's no longer the case. So what do you do?
We try to set up EMP Blossom. Take their top right high ground away, and then just rotate to point EMP Blossom.
Just on the point?
Yeah, especially if their wrist is on point. If nobody's on point, I think we can, like me and the D.Va can force point, and our Summer can play underneath.
Won't you just take a lot of damage?
Probably.
Okay. Do you still think it's worth it then?
I think we were kind of betting on their aggression because we've played this team before, so we know they like to go pretty hard into us. So I think we were kind of banking on the fact that they would drop and try to contest.
So are you sure that they're going to drop and try and contest immediately?
Maybe not immediately, but we've already got 2 ticks, so they have to come pretty quick.
There it is. Okay, I was waiting for that answer. Yes, correct. So you're talking about a really unorthodox way of playing, which is like just screw their angles, like they're just going to run to point, but That's going to work a lot more if you, like you said, they're a more aggressive team, but also you already have 2 ticks. They have to respect the point way more. So things like just cheesing on the point is a lot more powerful. Okay, I just want to make sure that your reasoning was accurate. But yes, I 100% agree. I think you're on point here. Literally. Okay. Clearing high ground, that's good. Clear a little bit of the damage pressure. No big cooldowns used, looks like. And let's see what happens.
I've reached the objective. Let's coordinate our efforts.
Like it? Okay. So I'm just gonna let it play a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of like let that go. On paper, the idea that you had, you go to point, you've got primal, you've got beat, you can just EMP blossom whatever touches. That seemed fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In terms of the actual execution, is there anything from your end of things that you think you could have cleaned up?
I think here's fine. I think when I chased the soldier deep was a mistake. I think I should have let him go and come back to the point and then recontest once he's back, because he's already out of the fight, so there's no need for me to take myself out of the fight with him.
Right. And again, you want to be matching your strategy with what the whole overall team plan is. What's the overall team plan right now?
Force point, EMP, and blossom.
Right. So you don't want to be too far from point. You want to be just smash point, smash point. Obviously, doing things like this is fine. Break the bongo, contest the soldier, all that crap. But like you said, this becomes no pursue. This becomes, we need to zone this Orisa. We need to get rid of that brick. All those sort of things. This is absolutely a mistake. Absolutely a mistake. So I'm glad we recognize that. Okay. So far, I haven't seen any major issues in your side of thing, but you have a major issue inside your team, and there's been some indecision, some sloppiness with your actual plan execution. And I blame you, not just because you are the person getting the reviews, you are the person also shot calling, and you also have a rapport built up with this player that you could correct some of these issues to begin with. Correct?
Yes.
Do you have any questions?
Can we skip this fight?
Yes, but why?
They just kind of run into us with Brawl in that room.
Do you already... Okay, so is it fine if we look at the fight from a third-person perspective and theorize a little bit?
Yeah, if you watch from mine, there's like 3 seconds of being alive, and that's about it. So.
Did you get flash fanned?
I got pinned, actually, into a May wall, and I think I died before I even hit the May wall. Our scouting was just kind of late. We took too long to walk out.
Brilliant. Okay, let's talk about the should have beens then, because obviously this isn't it. So like, look at your composition. What is your because people get this matchup so wrong, so wrong. They don't understand. Oh well, this one has better brawl, and that one has better brawl. It doesn't matter, right? The real important question is, what is Team Blue good at that Team Red can't do, and what is Team Red good at that Team Blue can't do? So you tell me, because you're the shot caller.
Team Blue's got a lot more staying power with the Rein and the BAP.
No, that's not the answer we're looking for. No, not the answer we're looking for. More staying power. What does that mean?
It means they can take longer fights.
You
they
sure?
have the cooldowns to take longer fights. I think so. I think what we need to do is we need to do like a soft engage first, especially if we can get like lamp out.
Okay.
And then just amp out, reset our cooldowns and our health, and then go back in, and we should have a pretty big advantage.
So you're saying your composition is stronger in quick bursts?
Yes.
Okay. So I would agree with that. Yeah. So I have like this aversive response to generic answers. Okay. So quick bursts. What else is their comp good at and your comp bad at, or vice versa?
Their comp can poke more than ours can.
Okay. So what is your comp good at that they are bad at?
I guess closing distance, maybe.
Not
setting
really.
up off angles.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Look at you. Okay. Exactly. Now, how are you able to set up off angles better than they are?
Sombra stealth. Reaper can kind of TP if he needs to.
What else? Look at your tank line. What does your tank line have that at least one of their tanks doesn't have?
more mobility.
Right. So you're able to utilize high ground, which allows you to what?
To drop on them without having to use
exactly. And you can, and high ground is an angle. In other words, if I can jump onto the high ground here, I can walk all the way around and come from this angle, or I can drop on them from this angle. Like it allows you to move safely and attack from multiple different angles. So right, so your composition is better in bursts and with angles. Their composition is better in sustaining power, okay, over longer brawls, we'll just put it that way, and has better ranged poke, okay? So the problem with this here...
2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
Is what?
We're not setting up any off angles, really?
Right, correct. We're not setting any off angles. Now, I will say this. If you had not been pinned here, and you had, I don't know, a Reaper on an angle, your Sombra, like your Sombra doesn't even do anything, right? So if you had been on an angle here, maybe with your Reaper or something, or your Reaper, excuse me, had been an angle, your Sombra had been here sooner, you hadn't gotten pinned, this would have been a death trap for them to go into. Because of the number of angles that you could have had, and the fact that it would have been 3, 2, 1, bang. The other thing that you brought up that I think is very important is that really you don't want to hard commit just yet until you've seen lamp. Because that's the thing, is like you can almost pick and choose your engagements with this composition because you don't have to commit, right? If their McCree commits, he commits, right? Reaper, no. Sombra, no. Winston, no. Diva, no. Even Moira Lucio, no. They can kind of pick and choose. So the other problem with this room is if this engagement doesn't go perfectly for you, is there any disengage, regroup, let's push again?
It'd have to be a really long rotation up those stairs.
Yeah, it's ugly. Like how do you jump out from here? It's rough. Like maybe you walk up the stairs and jump out. Like even your Sombra TP, like you're screwed. Like you guys are absolutely screwed. So I want you to replay this fight for me, knowing they have Brawl. I mean, maybe scouting is the problem, but I want you to you have to prove to me that you know this matchup well enough. So how would this look?
I don't really know where to start from against them, to be honest. Because when we scrim this map with this comp, we always start like inside. Usually inside that left mini. Sometimes we'll start inside the right just to mix it up. Okay. And we usually have a lot of success because we meet them before that room, and then we can kind of spread out and take our angles. Okay. Okay. So you would normally meet them like, are you saying like here? Yeah, like we usually try to control truck. Okay. More than anything. But I don't know. I think we weren't expecting them to just run in and pin in the room kind of thing. Have they played you guys in this map before? This map, yeah. Okay. So this to be honest with you, like if I go to the Rein's PvP, so this happens in Overwatch League 2 on this actually specific map too, where people will play monkeys and they're like, oh yeah, I know where they're set up. I know exactly where they're going. Like we've multiple times with London, we'd playing the Briggs Zone composition, we'd like go Kree and be like, oh, there's monkeys here. We're gonna go 3, 2, 1, turn flash fan, and he just insta dies because he's just not expecting us to know where he is. So it's like this might just be a situation where like they were ready, they were prepared ahead of time, and they just rolled you over. Let's say though, just for the sake of argument, you were not going to fight here, but you're going to fight. You messed up. Maybe you forced a lamp, whatever, but you didn't get the kills. You guys all jump out. Where would you next take the fight? How would you set up your next engage? Try to take control of either the roof of the mini room on point or the high ground that's like right behind you. Okay. And then what would you do with these high grounds? Just surround on point. Like we'll have our Sombra go opposite high ground if they go straight to point. Mm-hmm. And then we can just drop from a couple different angles. Sure. And at that point in time, it might have to be a hard engage. Like you might have to commit to the BAP. You might have to go in. Hopefully you've built up enough or force the lamp or whatever. And yeah, exactly. So you take this high ground, you take those angles, and you try and commit. Okay. You got lamp out. That's nice. Or window out. That's helpful. Not a really scary ultimate versus for your comp, but something is something. Okay, now this is where we get giggly, right? How do you guys play this? Wanted to play slow for EMP. Let our Sombra poke from one off angle. Okay. Once you have EMP, like let's just ignore the EMP for now, for just a second. Mm-hmm. How does this matchup play out on this particular point? I think we don't want to engage too early. I think we need to let them kind of commit to coming in, and that way we can because we can use our high grounds and just there's a lot more off angle potential, I think, when they start to commit to point. And it's a lot harder for them to back out.
Exactly. You can just sustain, use the high ground angles. Eventually your Reaper is going to hit a shot, your Summer is going to get a hack, you're going to build cold, you're going to get primal, and they're going to die. So the key thing is that you need to take the fight here, because this is where all the high grounds and all the angles are. This is what their Kree doesn't want to, like the Kree can't handle. Kree can't, what's Kree going to do here? He's going to sit here or here, and he's going to have he's going to have to go all the way like back here, and he's going to have a really, really hard time, right? And sometimes you don't even have to focus their squishy. Sometimes their Rein walks in, your Summer's sitting here, de-stealths, gets the hack, and now that Rein's a dive target, right? So it's all sorts of fun. So let's see what happens. Now, I'm not sure what you're doing, though. Are you trying to feed Cole here? Because I see a lot of ugly face, like, peeking out here.
Just kind of scouting.
Okay. Your D.Va as well. Because basically what's happening here is I've got you and your D.Va both scouting, and you're getting chunked. Oof. D.Va, oof. There's a heal orb. Oof, oof. Now the time they commit? What is this? This is a disaster. Do you see this? What do you see?
Our D.Va's super split, and our Sombra's not in the fight.
Worse than that.
And we don't really have an off angle set up.
You have no off angles. Well, you do have some off angles, but why is your D.Va on the floor? Why are you on the floor? You told me you were going to try and utilize high ground as your off angles, right? As your safety ground, right? You sat on the floor.
Yeah, I didn't say that's what we were gonna do. I said that's what we should have done.
Right. But that's still the problem, though. Like that's still a priority. Because now, and like, look what happened to your Moira too. Like your Moira dropped to heal you, and your D.Va, who by the way has almost no matrix before the fight even started, and is half HP. And you're still not full HP. And let's look at your. Do you want to guess as to what your Moira resource is at right now?
Pretty low.
Yeah, I would
like
guess.
A quarter bar.
She's brilliant. She used her heal orb. Never mind. Remember, she used her heal orb, so never mind. Yep. But yeah, she had to use a heal orb to keep you up so that she wouldn't be lower on resource. So this is a disaster. You might even die here. So you're describing a composition strengths, but then you're playing not at all to the strengths at all. Like, honestly, the ironic thing here is who is the person right now who's probably doing their job the best?
I'd say probably the Sombra.
Probably the Sombra. I agree. Look at the cover that she's using and the range that she's playing. This is really good. This is going to allow her to stay here a long time. She's got cover. She can set up items. The irony is that we're ripping on your Sombra, and now your Sombra is like the only person on the field that's actually doing her job. Whack. So, instead of harping on you and ripping on you, what did you and your tank line need to do better here? What adjustments needed to be made?
Well, we should have stayed high, I think.
Yes, just sit here. Here. Make them do the stupid amp speed, wall over, use all their cooldowns, and play for another gamble again. That's extremely risky for them to try that. And then just zap them from here. You wouldn't even need to drop. Just zap them. You get like wait for the full tick and then drop, and then maybe your D.Va can touch instead. You wouldn't have bubbled. You wouldn't have been shattered. Your D.Va would have taken no damage. You would have taken much less damage, and you would have actually played for the win condition that you told me that you wanted, and your Moira wouldn't drop either too. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think we were just kind of flustered going into this
Exactly.
fight.
Not to mention, also, look at the targets that you end up shooting. That's the other really negative thing here too. Do you see the target here?
Yeah.
You're on the Rein. Ugh. You should be like, look at this. Oh. Just look at the May and the BAP. You don't even have to use your jump. Like, it's just brilliant. So much value here. But yeah, this is tragic. Okay. Tragedy. It's a great EMP. And you guys are gonna win off of that. Okay. So we stay on that because that's definitely that's definitely a big error on your part in terms of how much damage you were taking, how you were setting up the team fight, but also your team as a whole was playing it wrong. Does that make sense before we harp on it anymore?
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, are you writing this down, remembering it, or are you going to go back and watch it? Because I have the memory of like literally like amnesic goldfish. So like, what's the deal with that?
I usually watch my VODs like 3 or 4 times, to be honest with you.
But at least 6 times would probably be good for this one. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Okay, so we're trying to follow a similar line here of before we abandon the Winston composition. I think you understood quite well the win. I hate saying that. How you play the composition and how you play the matchup too, and what your role is. The problem was, or your Sombra a lot of times not setting up good angles, and then your brain turned off on second point. So those are some things to work with. Have that conversation. Work on your execution as a whole. You understand. You had to explain to me like the play style, all that kind of stuff. So that's all fine. We'll shelve that one away. Cheers. Now what's the deal?
Now it's pretty much mirror. So we're just betting on the fact that we can play into the mirror better than them.
Yeah. So what are you calling right now?
I don't really remember.
Okay. Do you normally help call plans as well, not just like rotations and stuff? Like what ults you want to use and things like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you win this fight then?
I think the plan was to force out D.Va so that we can a free Death Blossom.
Force out D.Va. Does that just mean everybody shoots D.Va?
Pretty much, just brawl faster than normal into the D.Va.
So you're just gonna W key, try and wall off. Everybody shoots D.Va a little bit, then look for Blossom mid fight.
Yep.
Okay. I think that's very important. I think one of the things that Jane said, which is really, really one of the things that he said that I always agreed with, was like, we're gonna force Matrix and we're gonna do this. Okay, how? Right? How are you going to get her to Matrix? And so that's something that I want to see here, is you actually force the Matrix, right? Focus the D.Va. Okay. Tragic. What's the issue here?
We didn't force anything because of high noon,
yeah.
And he's like basically alone.
Yeah.
Besides maybe Lucio.
So you got out tempoed. I hate using that word, but you did. Just got out tempoed. Yep. You like given, and actually, if we look at how you got out tempoed, you tell me, how did you get out tempoed?
We just gave him way too much space.
Wait a second. Look at where your Reaper's positioned. Did you give them way too much space?
I think we gave him too much space for what I was wanting to do.
What were you wanting to do?
To just meet them like further up, so that they have to use more cooldowns.
So where would your Reaper? Where would your Reaper need to be then?
Either stacked with me in Mega Room instead of above it.
Okay. See, that's the problem here. So I knew tempo got out tempoed was wrong. I hate that. I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad that was wrong, because the problem is you look like you are ready to you're ready to do stuff here, right? But your Reaper can't do anything yet. Your Reaper needs him to actually walk in a little bit, kind of how you were describing the Winston composition. I mean, if you look at the rest of your team as well, is your D.Va, your Mei, are they in any position? Do they even look interested in pushing right now?
No, and I remember our post-fight comms took way too long.
Okay. So whatever, I don't really know, you just answered kind of my question there. I don't really know what the communication situation was like to lead up to this point, but whatever it did is a disaster. This is a disaster, because you can absolutely let them in and kite out this high noon. It's all fine and dandy. They walk into point, they walk into a juicy Death Blossom, they use resources, fine. But this is a problem. This is a big problem. This was a really, really ugly kite. It costs you your entire shield, almost costs your Mei, and it costs your Meg wall, and you're going to have to give it to Hick. Yikes, dude. So that needs to be addressed. You need to be on the same page with where the plan is happening. Otherwise, this kind of garbage is going to happen, and then that's just a train wreck. The other problem here is this. And what's the problem with this?
He's alone. We didn't get any of the DM out.
Correct. Now, maybe you force a little bit of DM, etc. But the major problem here is, what the flip is this group of your team doing right now? Absolute jack. Nothing. It's not your fault, but that has to be communicated. This timing has to be done. You kind of see what I'm saying? So this is a problem. This Death Blossom should be absolutely fat, but it might not. Hey, Sherman, thank you for this. 35 months. Almost 3 years. No, this is not the Krusty Krab. Okay. All right. So it works out. You do hard commit with it, but it had a very, very, very high risk. Very, very high risk. Way higher.
I just heard I'm death blossoming now, so I just pinned to get there as fast as
I mean,
I
I
can.
respect it. Like, you're trying to get to do something. Sometimes doing something is better than doing nothing and then doing the right thing late. You kind of see what I'm saying? So, like, I think that pin was the correct play. Absolutely the correct play. I'm just mad that we got to that point. Okay. All right. So, what's the plan? Do you remember?
I remember there wasn't much of one because we don't really have a lot to work with.
Oh, come on.
I'm not good at fight planning with only like 1 or 2 ults that aren't clear win condition.
Okay, so then you aren't a very good fight planner. So we need to work at that. So let's work at that right now. What are some ideas you can do with your ultimates or your cooldowns that might work this team fight? By the way, did you ult track?
It's our Lucio that ult tracks.
Right, but
like
do you guys ult track?
Yeah, it's kind of been an issue lately. We've had like one of our supports just left to go play for a different team, so we've had just the biggest shuffle of
that's fine.
You can imagine.
That's fine. Ult tracking is a tricky thing to be good at as well, so I'm not going to give you a hard time. Okay, so I just want to know if you had any ult tracking. If you're not really sure, not a big deal. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you, what are some plans?
So our initial plan was just to throw Diva Bomb early and force a hard engage with it, but then somebody's like, well, they have Blizzard, so we can't really just throw our bomb out. So then I think I called to just, like about here, I called, well, we just need to meet them pretty hard and get ready to back off then. But by that time, it's way too late.
Sometimes you can feel how a very late plan that people aren't ready to execute on sometimes can be almost worse than not having a plan at all. Why is that?
Because then maybe like me and maybe one other person will start to do the plan. So instead of having 6 people just kind of standing there waiting around, you got 2 people going in and 4 people just standing around.
Right, exactly. It's like, at least with ranked, everybody kind of generally shuffles around the same spot. But if you just decide, I'm going to go in and do this like at the last possible second, then you're going to have what almost happened with your Death Blossom. So think of a good plan then. So like, obviously you need to make sure that the whole late plan, indecisive, last second crap, that just needs to go. You don't need me to coach you to tell you why you're out. Just fix it. That needs to 10, 20, 30% more of your fights need to not have that happen in your future scrums. Right? But in terms of like what we can actually think about and analyze and practice, that's the quality of your plan. So you said you could go early with Diva Bomb, but you guys are scared about Blizzard. Okay, fine. Solve the problem then. What do we do? What's the plan?
I think there's like 2 different schools of thought. Either we can engage really fast on their front line while they're coming in.
Okay.
With like Maywall to split the Rein.
With Diva Bomb or without?
Without.
Okay.
Or we could just as a team focus on the May to make her feel either pressured to use Blizzard or just take that angle away from her so she can't use it.
Okay. Now give me a win condition or a fight plan with Bomb.
I think once we either force out Blizzard, we can bomb, or once we take her angle away. So like as soon as she leaves an angle, then we can chuck bomb on maybe like the Rein and just hard it into the Rein with the bomb on top of them.
To be clear, you don't have to wait for her to use Blizzard to bomb.
Yeah.
You just have to understand what that means. You kind of see what I'm saying? Like, so how would you win this fight with Bomb, even though they have Blizzard?
I think if we bomb early, I mean, maybe not necessarily a fight win, but a fight advantage would be we could be up there early, bomb early to bait the Blizzard, and then just disengage off of that.
You could. Heck, you could even bait them onto point. And then bomb, like launch your bomb from like here and have it land like right here. And there's a high chance that you die due to the Blizzard, but there's really nobody else should be frozen because of the Blizzard.
Yeah.
Your McCree should be high ground, Baps high ground, Lucius high ground, Divas high ground, Mail just ice block. And then the bomb will very likely either kill people or blow every single cooldown that they have, and then your McCree will get a pick. And then maybe you guys beat to sustain. Like in the situation where like they have Blizzard versus your Diva Bomb and they have like a BAP window, you guys are kind of in a tricky spot, right? Like you said, Diva Bomb is a little awkward, but that's another tool. And the one you described earlier, with like faking and engage early and then kiting out, like maybe you guys like wall here, but then you run away with like Lucio speed and your McCree Bap stay high ground. That also would work. It's risky, but my point is that there are ways of working around this, right? There are ways of playing and making this work. So you just need to come up with these. You need to try these. Think of them. You kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I would bet the farm that nothing spectacular or even close to spectacular happens here. Like even that right there. Like think about that. Think about how much HP you just lost there, dancing around like a chicken with its head cut off. And look at your shield HP as well. 600 of your shield gone, and half of your HP for what?
Nothing.
Right. No, why? Now, again, I'm not going to just flame you for doing that. You know that's a mistake, but why did it happen? Why were you...
Bad fight plans?
Right, exactly.
Slow fight plans?
Right, you're not sure. You're like, we're pushing up? Oh, okay, I guess we're not. I'm not sure what's happening. Okay, we're pushing up? Oh, no, I guess then we're not. Right, exactly. Right? I'm not going to yell at you for doing this. You know this is wrong. So what put you in this position? And that's what needs to be fixed. Because now they're walking in, but your stupid McCree's on the floor. If you were looking to fight here, your McCree wouldn't be on the floor. He would be on the high ground, right? Yep. McCree's on the floor probably because you called to push up here. That's the problem. And then now your McCree's dead. And now your mate's dead. And now you're dead. And now your Bap's dead. I have no idea what your Bap was doing on the floor, to be honest. But like, you guys have zero plan. Too many people died in Blizzard, and it's over. So, does that make sense?
Yep.
I mean, it was quite easy. It's almost hilarious how you could almost see it falling apart before it even happened. Like, you could see it coming. You could see the problems basically righting themselves. Okay, so we'll look over maybe one more team fight, maybe a little bit more, and then I want to do some questions with you. Do you have any questions so far of what, like, the just previous matchup stuff?
Is there a way I can practice fight planning outside of scrims?
I'm I'm gonna be so mean. You tell me how.
You're just gonna say play comp, aren't you?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. That would actually be bad. That would not be helpful. I mean that. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's necessarily negative, but no. You tell me. How do you practice it?
Aside from like VOD reviewing myself, I guess, especially when like Overwatch League's on, I could watch those VODs maybe.
VOD reviewing yourself. What do you mean VOD reviewing yourself?
Kind of like we're doing now, and just pausing before each fight and like, well, how should this play out, and walking through it that way.
Do you do that?
Not often. No, I'm on 2 different teams in work, so I don't have a lot of time to VOD.
If you were to work on your shot calling and leading, this would be how you do it. Like what we're doing right here. So how you practice shot, like your fight planning, is doing exactly what we've been doing for the past, like, I don't know, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes. This exactly. And don't even necessarily need to look at your POV at all. What would be a good fight plan here? And force yourself to be creative too. Don't just be, oh, well, they have Blizzard, we don't have Blizzard, so we need to play slow. Hate that crap, man. How do you win the fight? What's a creative way you can win it? Force yourself to think of different ways. With like sometimes, so a little bit of leaks here. With London Spitfire, we trialed or scrimmaged Uprising Academy one time. We didn't scrimmage any contenders teams except for BH occasionally and Uprising Academy. And we scrimmaged Uprising Academy this one time, and we're like, oh no, Uprising Academy, like they're a solid team, but it's contenders, right? It's just not the same level as Overwatch. Like, even though London, we weren't very good. So it was like, oh shoot, like, you know, how are we gonna make this scrim positive? So what we did, we tried something silly. We tried kind of to see if we could limit the number of ultimates that we used and just try to be more creative with our fight plans. And it was half train wreck, half brilliance. It was a lot of fun. It was kind of messy. But the play, it was cool. It was cool. Now, I would have wanted to refine how we did it and things like that. But like the things you can take away from that is that it is a good exercise to think about different ways that you can solve team fights, because that's how you improve yourself as a player. Because a lot of times it's gonna be like, well, we don't have this, but they have this, or I'm not really sure what they have, but we have this, or like, why don't we try this on this map? Like, for example, on that map here, going for things like diva bombs are really strong in full sky, just based off of the geometry, right? But others, it may be better to play around your May wall or to play around your blizzards and make more plans around that. So if you have 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just go through a team fight. What should we do? What are some ideas? What actually happened? Okay, well, we should have done that. Okay, next fight. 3 or 4 minutes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
I'm concerned.
Defend objective A.
I feel like this is not going to go well. Okay, how do you play this matchup? Just like neutral. No fight planning here. Just the neutral.
Just look to engage with the Mei wall.
Okay. So what's the... Well, how do you win if you're on defense and they're on attack? What are your advantages?
They have to funnel through choke, and we can kind of
So
apply pressure from slightly different angles.
okay. What do you see as problematic right now?
Everybody's stacked on top of each other again.
Okay. So what would be the solution then?
I think maybe have our Kree and our Diva pair up and go on an off angle
Where?
to the other side of the truck, or if we could get our Kree high ground somehow.
Maybe. Okay. Are you guys looking to fight here?
Ideally,
Okay. So where would you want your angle to be around?
be around that little square there by the truck.
You could. You could even have your McCree hide in here and pop out and flash with Diva. He might die, but if you guys literally just W key in here, if you guys are looking to hard commit here, you can play around it. You could even have your Diva set up here, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, lots of options. You could have your Mei in here, wall out vertically, and just completely scuff up the rotation. So let's actually see what happens. Okay. Uh-oh. What's the problem?
We weren't ready to go in on the Mei wall. It was
Yeah.
calm like after it went up instead of before.
Well, now hang on a second. Can you really can you really like can you always communicate a Mei wall before it happens?
Not always, but I think when it's like set in choke like that, you kind of can.
Now you told me that you were looking to commit to in this little square.
Mm-hmm.
So are you really waiting for Mei wall, or are you waiting for the enemy Rein to do something?
I was kind of both. I was waiting on the Rhine to walk in, but I wanted to wall
When is your Mei going to wall?
differently when the
When?
Rhine walks in.
Okay, so why are you waiting for the third step when the first step's all you need?
I don't know.
Okay, something to think about, because this is not, I've never heard in my life somebody who's like a communicational cycle where you're waiting for the Mei wall call. You wait for them to walk through the choke, and you know that your Mei's going to wall it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's at this point, it's too late to commit now. It's like it's over. Like they've made the rotation. GG's, you've lost. So I'm also again questioning why your Diva's taking so much damage. But like the big problem here is, wait a second, why is this? It's 15. Whoops. My big question here is, why are we S-keying when you told me that you wanted to commit here? Because you're clearly not committing here. You're backing off. And by the time you've committed, it's already too late. This Mei wall is fine. And I knew, like, this Mei wall is fine. It's awful for their BAP. Their McCree is late. It cuts off any retreat route. If you guys had actually committed here, without your Diva being at 0 HP, they would have been toast. Even without a proper off angle from your McCree. You kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I was just too worried about me committing too hard, because their Mei has been doing a really good job of just walling me off too and committing to me.
Right, but what the flip does their Mei wall do?
Oh, that was a bad wall. Yeah.
It's a I mean, there isn't a good wall really here. Like that you can't escape from it. And even if you can, it doesn't matter. Their wall's not going to split anybody of your team off if your Korea's positioned properly. Your BAP's just going to jump over it, and that's going to be it. Meanwhile, this Mei wall's cut them completely off. So get in here, swing on 6, let your McCree take the angle or whatever, and trust your Mei. Your Mei did a good job. That was a good wall. So I mean, there you go. Even with this scuffed up, terrible execution, you guys are still finding ways to win. I have no idea what your McCree is doing. Let me look at your McCree side of it. Your McCree really should not be standing here. This is just so dangerous with Mei wall. I mean, exactly. He dies because their McCree is actually doing his job, and your McCree is not. So, yeah. I mean, I won't harp on it a lot because it's not really so much your responsibility. But if you were to have a conversation, I would keep an eye on your McCree's angles. Keep an eye on them. But yeah, to be honest, I don't really care about what happens the rest of this fight. This is all chaos. Everybody's calling different stuff. You know, there's like a million little details that could be going wrong. Screw it. You messed up the first engage. Nothing else matters. Do you agree?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, their McCree is just like getting away with murder. Okay. I don't even know if you'll get an actual fight. You might. You really ought to just kite back to point here. I don't even know if I would hold this here because you're still down your Mei. Yeah, so I don't know. Go ahead.
I was looking to hold it with window, so he could window like right on our side of the corner, so I could flame strike and walk through for the amp healing. And I called for him to do that, walked forward thinking it was going to happen, and then he didn't do it.
So it was
he said
in other words,
because we didn't have our Kree.
Okay, so in other words, you wanted to go 3, 2, 1, window me now, right? And just window like here, or window like here-ish, and then you hold the corner.
A little sooner than this point, but
okay.
Yeah, like as they're rounding corner.
You're gonna die to a Kree flank again, aren't you?
Yeah, like 3 of us, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are screwed. Yeah, again, I'm not gonna over like jeez, yeah. Guys, angles are strong. Please. This is what happens. Like your diva really needs to be sitting on that. But like if their McCree's really, really smart, like he doesn't even need to be this far for him to get value. Like he could be like, you know, he could be like playing here and then peek out here and then your diva ends and he rolls back to his BAP and he's fine. So like, you know, obviously this is something you'd want to, like your diva needs to be sitting on these, but your McCree is also just not playing very well. Main thing for you though is that first fight. If this is just a miscommunication, you were down a couple, you never really stabilized, whatever. But the main thing was that first fight. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
60 seconds.
You down to watch one more?
New
Yeah, this is fun. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I see how it is. All right. Chad, what was the fight plan here?
Stuff them at choke and utilize our Mei wall so they don't get to.
Okay, sure. I'm fine with that. Let's see what happens.
I instantly take almost all my armor and have to back up.
Yeah. They take all your armor, but this is also an atrocious Mei wall. Well, let's put it this way. Part of me is like, no, you shouldn't Mei wall like this because you need to let them walk through the choke so you get the better Mei wall. But actually, you know what the main problem with this Mei wall is? What's the main problem?
We're not there to follow it up.
Exactly. Once again, like the first fight earlier, you have now S-keyed out of the Mei wall value. Unless you're like playing like poke versus poke and you're just gonna Mei wall to split off the resources and like break their shields faster, which that has a like space. This doesn't make any sense. Hey, thank you for the sub, H-Light. Appreciate it. But yeah, this is a major problem. Because when should this Mei wall happen? Even if it was just as bad as that Mei wall, when should it happen?
Because I'm going in.
Right. Now, right?
Yeah.
Essentially now. Like you could go in right now, pin this Rein, force their lamp instantly. Like it would be ugly. You guys might get really split, but like this is what you want to do, right? You're peeking out here as if I'm going to like go in, and then you end up backing off. And I actually think it's once again your fault because what I assume you wanted them to do is to let them into the choke, correct? You said stuff.
Kind of like where they are now, basically.
Where would you want the wall? Let's put it that way. Where would you want to engage?
Just inside of the choke.
Okay, so here or here? Here, like through this choke or through like back in here?
Like inside of the choke point, like horizontally across it.
Like
so it
right here.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So then this is your fault because you were looking. I mean, it looked like to me like you were gonna go right through the choke. And then you tell me what you think. Like it looks like to me like you were like ready to just go through. You weren't holding the corner. Mm-hmm. So you see how that confuses your Mei?
Yep.
And so now you have a Mei wall that nobody can follow up off, and a Mei that's playing at a faster tempo because she thinks we're going in, and you're backing off. And your Mei wall does nothing. And then this happens. And GG's. So we can break down every single thing, not every single thing, but most things to just nobody knew what was going on. You may thought you're going through S to choke. You clearly were not. You chunked a bunch of armor. You kite off. You get a bad Mei wall. Nothing happens. You die. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what's the solution then?
I guess first of all, just playing with the Mei more outside of just scrims, getting more in sync with them.
Sure, that would help. But I mean, you know, quantity is not always going to equal quality, right? Mm-hmm. So what would be the solution? Because I could put a GM Reinhardt or a top 500 Reinhardt or a Reinhardt more experienced with you in scrimmages, and they would not have the same problem with this Mei. Why do you think that is? What are they better at than you?
Being more clear in the comms. Mm-hmm. instead of just saying stuff choke.
Being more
like
clear,
that.
like, okay, so give me an example of what you should have called instead then.
To let the Rein walk in and then wall
Yes,
horizontal.
just let them in. Wall choke. Let them in. Wall choke. That's literally it. And you could have even not said a word and sat here, and your body language alone would have told your mate what to do. You kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you don't even need to be right in all the 7 million trillion different things. You could just do one little thing better, and then it's going to make the communication so much clearer. And this keeps happening. This keeps happening with the Rein mate competition. It happened on your defense the first time. It's happened on your defense the second time. So there's a common denominator here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what stands out to you? What stands out to you from this review? What are your priorities? I want you to think back to the Winston. I want you to think back to the matchup stuff. Think back to your planning. Think back to the Rein May stuff. Like, if you could highlight, without having to watch the review over again, just right now, what's your gut instinct feeling like you have in terms of goals or focuses?
I think just setting up the win conditions for the comp more, instead of just saying like, well, this is the rotation we want to do. We're going to go 3-2-1. It should be, we're going to take this rotation, and our flanker, like Sombra, should be able to set up on an off angle and engage with us at the same time. Kind of
okay.
Thing.
Right. I think being more clear with what you're wanting to do. So you're describing a little bit of micromanaging. So you're telling like, oh, I want to do like this with my Sombra. Like, just say, this is where I want to fight. This is what I want us to do. Like, if you said, I'm going to hold the choke, you don't even need to tell your Mei how to wall it. She knows. She'll know, right? You kind of see what I'm saying? The Sombra thing needs to be a separate conversation. But I think you just being more clear, like what we're doing, when we're doing it, where, whatever, I think you will find a lot of value out from that. And being that specific is just important in life. You just need to be very clear and specific about what you need and what you're planning to accomplish. And this becomes significantly easier. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
Not really. I think we've kind of went over them as they came up.
So do you have any questions outside of this review? Anything that you've run into in ranked, or anything else that you would want to go over?
Not really.
Okay. Because we went over a lot and not a lot at the same time. A lot of big picture stuff and not a lot of hero specific stuff. To be honest with you, I think the biggest thing for you is going to be, like we talked about, the planning thing, but also I would strongly like take the time to talk with Sombra about some of the off angling stuff. See if you make some progress with that. Focus on how you're saying things. Don't be like, you're doing this wrong, but be like, do you think that this could be better? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Don't insult their intelligence like that. Everybody makes mistakes. Like I said, I think something that you might help for you in terms of like the planning quality, how do you get better, is just doing what we're doing now, right? Talking about like what you could have done, because this could have even been like hold choke guys, flash the first thing that walks through. You kind of see what I'm saying? And that would have worked just fine. Okay, well, Ty, it was really good working with you, mate. If you do have any other questions, you're tier 2, so you can shoot any other questions my way over DMs, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. But yeah, man, it was awesome talking with you. All right, have a good one, mate.
You too.
See ya.